So in my defense of your Cubbies, I was just saying, I don't know how the style of play is sustainable.
I get it.
And I'm not. And I never said the Cardinals were a pretender or a contender. Although I did say at the beginning of the year with our predictions that it was going to be 2-2-2, and the Cubs and the Cardinals were both making the playoffs.
Yeah. I want to know what the pitcher means. I don't know. Third base. What's the guy's name on first base? While he's on second. I'm asking you, whoever. Well, who's on first? Yeah. Who's on who? The guy on first. Who? The guy on first base. Who? The guy on first. Who is on first? What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What's up, everybody? I am Tim Ellerbrook, and I'm with my good buddies Brian and Michael. Welcome to this episode of Who's on First. Before we jump in, just make sure to follow us and subscribe. Hit the bell, hit the icons, the subscribe icons, I guess. Follow us on Twitter, X, and YouTube at WOFBB Podcast, and give us some comments. Let's talk some ball on the line in the digital space. Anybody seen that movie? Have you guys seen that movie or understand that reference?
No.
On the line. Anyway, what's up, guys? How are y'all doing?
I'm good. I just want some people to chime in, argue with us a little bit in a healthy way. It's a good, healthy debate.
You're eager for that argument.
I know. I'm kind of liking it right now. So bring your questions.
Comments, concerns. All right. This episode, I guess these next two episodes are going to be all Player of the Month. And we're going to separate it into just American League and National Leagues, and we're going to jump in because we got a lot of stuff to go through. So we're going to do 3 Player of the Month, 3 starting pitchers of the month, 1 relief pitcher of the month, and 1 rookie of the month. And again, you guys got any comments or anything you disagree with us, or you have a better player that you think that should be in the first place or second place or third place, whatever, hop in the comments, but let's do it. Cap, let's start off with you.
How you want to start this time? You want me to run through some honorable mentions? Because, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, let's go backwards. Let's go 3, 2, 1.
Teams.
Okay.
And you want to do RB? Does everybody have honorable mentions?
I have some, yeah.
I have some, too.
I have a few, so
let's do
I can
honorable
throw them
mentions.
in there.
Honorable mentions for the AL player.
It may rattle you a little bit, but it's okay. So for me, we're talking about players, so the positional players and things like that. So for me, like my honorable mentions here, and I mean, this was a little bit more difficult than I anticipated it to be. I sat down and I was like, oh, this should be a piece of cake. And then I started looking at some stuff and I was like, okay, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. And so I ended up landing with these honorable mentions. I have Ryan O'Hearn from Baltimore.
Not bad.
Because he has had a monster May. I mean, really kind of helping them. I don't want to say right the ship, but at least look somewhat presentable at baseball right now.
Mm-hmm.
The next one I have in the honorable mention is Jeremy Pena from Houston.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, again, they've kind of climbed back in it. I'm a little concerned about Houston right now. They're starting to see some injuries. There's some small reports. Tim, you and I were talking about a little bit that Jordan might not make it back this year, which I think will be a big hit on them.
Yep.
But Pena has kind of had this resurgence for him. There was a lot of talk that they were potentially going to move on from him at shortstop coming into this year. So I don't know if that chatter really kind of lit a fire under him. But, I mean, hey, for the month of May, it's worked. And I would say it's worked all season.
I agree.
He's been really, really good. And then for me, this was probably the one that I wrestled with the most because, all the controversy that went down with this guy at the beginning of the year, to have all of a sudden his bat show up now. I thought I was going to have him in my top 3, but he kind of fell out.
Yeah, I know
and that's Raffy Devers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he has figured out the bat, which we never doubted that.
Yep.
I just maybe took him a little bit to get out of the feel of I need to play the field and finally just say, hey, I'm going to focus on hitting. And so that's kind of where I landed with my honorable mentions. And so I'll let you guys speak to your honorable mentions.
It's amazing when you take the month of April and the beginning of the season out of a player's line, how good they look now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Michael, honorable mentions?
Yeah, I actually Pena as well, and I don't know if you guys realize, but for the season as a whole, Jeremy Pena currently is number 2 behind Aaron Judge now in WAR.
Position.
Yeah,
sensational.
100%. Right. Like
100%.
The defensive side of that plays in for him 100%.
To point out, that means Bobby Witt has fallen off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't interesting?
Yeah, he's now tied for 10th.
Yeah.
I had honorable mentions for him. I've gone back and forth on several different guys. I did end up throwing Jacob Wilson down in my honorable mentions, though I did want to put him in my top 3, especially considering the guy's a rookie. He's been unbelievable. But I had him dropping down in there. And then my last, I'd say my 3-4 was tough between Rafi and the Big Dumper. But I ended up dropping the Big Dumper down in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Whoa.
He has been lighting it up at the plate. I just looking across all of the several different categories. Rafi got him in probably a couple extras that the Big Dumper didn't. Obviously, the Dumper is hitting bombs like crazy. So, arguably the catalyst for that Seattle offense and their resurgence this year. So, I've got those guys.
Those are solid. So I would say my honorable mentions are 2. Rafi Devers is my honorable mention. He was my number 3 until actually yesterday. I had to change some of the lines because of how players played yesterday. We're recording this on Sunday, by the way, for anybody listening. My other honorable mention is Jacob Wilson. That dude is just lighting it up on a team that is not good, has a lot of promise and potential, I think.
A very good young team.
Very good young team, yeah. Now, I don't know if you want to, you could say ballpark factor could play into a little bit for home games and everything because it's got a crazy left field.
But the average plays anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Man, he's doing really, really well. But yeah, Rafi I've always been a big fan of his bat. It's fun watching him play the Yankees, especially Garrett Cole. Obviously, that has not happened this year, but he was originally my 3 until, again, Saturday. But yeah, he's been lighting up at the plate. Let's do it. So, Cap, let's start off with your number 3.
Yeah. So before we do that, I mean, like, I want people to know
qualifiers.
No. This is all good. But like Jacob Wilson, I think deserves to be in the conversation for Player of the Month, even though he's a rookie.
Agreed.
And I think he's going to show up down the road here as far as in some of our lists because of that.
Oh, like in different months?
Well, not even in different months. I think in this episode for certain spots, I think everybody can pick up on that early and understand where that's going to land. And so that's kind of why I kept him out of this conversation right now. But I mean, what he's doing, he deserves recognition in just Player of the Month. Drop the rookie side out of that. I mean, it is even, I think, greater because he is a rookie, and so that speaks to something there. So my number 3, and this was one, like, again, he's so consistent, I think that you forget how good he is. And that is Jose Ramirez for Cleveland. Like, I just wanted to pull him off of this list, but then I started digging into the numbers, and I'll throw some things out. I mean, for the month of May, 386, 5 home runs. Here's the thing that a lot of people don't know about him. 8 stolen bases in the month. 634 slug, a 206 weighted runs created plus, and then an 1.8 WAR. And like, that's just a day at the park for this man. And so I was like, he has to go in this list. And he was the one, him and Devers were the one I kept kind of bouncing back and forth on because of that. And I was like, he's my number 3.
100%.
Yeah. That's a good pick.
Yeah, I landed with Rafi. Everything else in Boston has been kind of a dumpster fire the last few weeks. But Rafi, that dude just, for all the drama at the beginning of the season and even a couple weeks ago with him playing the field or whatever, the guy has been raking. Like I think we all thought he was going to at the beginning of this year because the guy is a DH, given the baseball player in me says, get out there and play first base. But to each their own. He's making millions of dollars and he's doing a darn good job at hitting like he's supposed to. The part that stands out for me, on top of, he's got a great batting average, he takes walks too. He's got 22 walks on this in the month. Had a 463 on base percentage, which great. You'll take that all day from your DH.
Yes.
So that's ultimately landed him in my top 3. But that's Devers.
Yeah. So let me ask a qualifying question. Do the handedness of the batter apply to the condition of the ranking in anybody's opinion, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter to me in that opinion. I mean, I can see where there's some weight and some value to it depending on where you play. Like, I mean, for instance, if you're a right-handed batter and you play in Houston, obviously you would think your numbers are going to be a little bit better just because of if you're playing more games at home than on the road type of deal. And it could be said the same way if you're in Yankee Stadium, some of the hitter-friendly ballparks.
Yeah.
And then I think for me, the bigger thing is I try not to devalue the slug or the extra base hit for players that don't necessarily play in a hitter-friendly ballpark. And there's a lot of their maybe gap shots or doubles that would probably be out of some of these ballparks. And so their power numbers may not quite be there. And so I think to me, that's the more valuable thing than which side of the plate they hit on.
Yeah. Okay. So my number 3 is also Jose Ramirez. Originally, Waffy was 3. Jose was an honorable mention, but I flipped them because Ramirez's week this week was just insane. He was hitting 500 for the week.
Right.
So, I mean, that made him surge. When you're hitting 500, you're doing something right. Makes me think of Goldie's, that stat for Goldie against left-handed. Have you seen that, Michael?
No.
He's hitting like almost 600 against lefties the entire season so far.
My goodness.
This is not about Goldschmidt, but I think this week made him surge up my list. For the month, like Cap said, he's hitting 386 for an average. Getting on base at a 450 clip, which is you're on base half the time almost. That's pretty good. 630 slug, and the stolen bases for a 206 WRC plus. Just a solid player. I would put him on my team. I mean,
I'd take him if they want to switch Nato for him right now. Let's go. Come on.
Say no. And he's a great defender.
Yeah,
he's good got some good WAR too. Let's do number 2.
Number 2, and this might come a little bit of a surprise here, but this is where I have Aaron Judge for the Yankees. Okay, he dropped a little bit this month. I mean, now I say drop. I mean, he's still ridiculous. Okay, nice. I mean, for the month, 364, 11 home runs, 18 RBIs, still stupid slug at 798, a 236 WRC plus, and then a 2.2 WAR. I just when I started looking at this between him and my number 1. I'll be honest with you, I started to factor in the defensive side. And that's what ended up making the difference. And not because Judge has been bad defensively. I just think when you have this two-way player in this month that's not only putting up the numbers, but doing it from the defensive side as well is what gave me the edge. And so, again, Aaron Judge, I mean, we can talk about it all day long. We talked about it last month. I mean, we thought numbers would be significantly down, and it's been the opposite all year. And it doesn't matter who bats in front of him, who bats behind him, whatever the case is. I mean, he's just proving why he might be the best player in baseball right now overall.
True. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, my number 2 is actually you guys' number 3. Probably part of that is just player preference. I am a huge fan of Jose Ramirez.
Right.
Jose Ramirez is probably in my top 5 favorite players in the game just because the guy plays ball and that's it. And he knocked out Tim Anderson, which was one of my favorite fights in MLB history. That was unreal. Plus, didn't like Tim Anderson.
Wait, you don't like Tim Anderson?
It was even better, so really made my day.
It's kind of like Brandon Phillips for us. I mean, it's the same. Yeah. I get it.
I get
it. I get it.
And down he goes. No, Ramirez had 38 hits over the month. I mean, that's impressive. Obviously, his walks were down comparatively to the other guys a little bit, but he still took them. 8 doubles on the month, and like you said, average OPS, everything's there. Right. I took the defense into consideration because he's a very solid defender. Every year he's on that Gold Glove list too. So, Jose.
My number 2 is also Aaron Judge. I have a feeling our list is the same, Brian.
I have that feeling too.
All the same reasons. There's not much to go about it. The reason I asked the question is because for the ballpark factor, he's obviously up on the list higher because he's, I mean, for the lack of a better word, he's getting lucky home runs because of the porch, because he's an opposite field hitter a lot.
And I mean, you've seen it. I think and somebody check me on my numbers, but I think like 5 or 6 of his home runs would not have been home runs anywhere else.
Yeah, something like that. I looked this up the other day. He would have like 4 or 5 less home runs if he played in some other park that's not Yankee Stadium. Just because, I mean, and that goes to his profile, and we talked about it last month, how almost even he is from pool to center to opposite.
Which should take in consideration, he still would have like 17 home runs on the year. So
you're right. Right. That's why I say, like, it is not a knock on him that he plays in the Bronx. I think it helps, sure. But, I mean, what he's doing would play in any ballpark right now.
Yeah, I mean, no team would say no. His K percentage is climbing. Is it a 2.3 or 23.1%, that's a swing and miss guy. But I got to give him some props for the adjustments that he made going from last season to this season, because he was chasing more and he was chasing those low and away pitches more, and he's hitting them now and laying off of them. Still one of the best players in baseball. Number 1.
All right. Yeah, I think we're going to be the same here. And this is where, like I said, it was just kind of the defensive side. And so, like, I even make, mention of this, but it is going to be the big dumper. It's Cal Raleigh. For the month, I mean, 304, 12 home runs, 26 RBIs, 739 slug, 227 WRC plus, a 2-2 WAR overall, and a 2-1 defensive WAR. And so, like, that to me, when you're able, and again, you talk about hitting side. I mean, you're talking about a catcher that's a switch hitter.
Yep.
And that arguably to this point in the season, obviously he's got to play it out, right? Yep. But maybe having the greatest offensive season for a catcher we've ever seen in baseball.
Facts.
Yeah, wasn't there a comparison stat with Posey?
He's on a list with
Piazza and those type. Like,
I think it's just those 3 guys.
Was it
or something.
the pace of how much WAR he's accumulated so far?
It might be that in home runs. He's on a home run pace to be
MVP season,
to have the most home runs of a catcher. At least, again, if he continues this, a lot is still to be seen. Can he do it for a full season? And I mean, you said it early. I mean, right now he is carrying Seattle offensively. Yeah. And it's like that in and of itself, the ballpark that he plays in is pretty impressive to me.
Well, and you look at it, last year, I'd say probably the last 3 years, you had him and Adley Rutschman. It's like it was those 2 guys were the new faces for catchers in the MLB, and it's like it was Adley clearly. Mm-hmm. And then last year, the big dumper really started to kind of climb. Adley was dropping a little. And then you look at it now, it's like there is no question Cal is by far the best catcher and the best hitting catcher in baseball.
Yeah, the fall off of Adley is really
It's super weird, because it's like you're not talking, this is a guy that went from batting, 300 down to 280 or something. Like, he's batting just over 200 right now, and he doesn't even look like he's seeing the ball right now.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
No.
And he's getting hurt more, which, I mean, that could play into it, obviously.
Right. But I wonder, too, for him, and Adley is the him I'm discussing, too, is you have such a high from the run that Baltimore was able to make, and then you go to so much expectation.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden you're not hitting that level of expectation, not only as an individual, but as a team, that there's just some mass frustration. And plus, not to say that Baltimore's putting any pressure on them, but they have another stud high prospect down in their system that plays catcher as well. So you wonder if there's some internal conversations of, hey, we need to consider maybe moving you to a different position, and it's just really got his head all messed up. And now that's not me trying to report on something that I know nothing about, but just knowing the game of baseball a little bit in that regard, I'd be interested to maybe get an inside scoop. So if somebody's out there wants to interview or can get Adley on the show,
I'm wondering the thought on how much the poor pitching may be weighing on him as well. Because obviously, as a catcher,
right.
You're calling the game. You're seeing the most from his spot, and it's like, is he trying to think through those adjustments that need to be made while he's still up there at the plate?
Right.
Like you said, there's a ton he's probably got processing right now,
carrying so much.
Hopefully, Jackson Holiday being actually able to hit again,
right?
Is going to kind of help take a little bit of pressure off him, and I don't know, it's strange.
Yeah, and I think that's been the hardest thing because really, you're talking two guys. Cedric Mullins is having an okay year, but chances are he's not going to remain in Baltimore because of his contract situation. They're going to get rid of him easy. So there's so much flux, and then around the league, if you talk to players, things like that, Baltimore's a great environment, a great organization. They really treat their players and players' families really, really well. So I think people like being there, but we recognize they're not going to pay the big contracts.
Yep.
And so you wonder if, again, this is all speculation, but just you talk about it, trying to carry a pitching staff that's really not even an MLB pitching staff right now. So you're probably game planning a whole lot more on the defensive side, not getting in as much work on the offensive side as you want. And then you just compound that with, again, maybe frustration. Maybe there is conversation about a move somewhere down the road. Yeah. All that fun stuff. And so I know I went on a massive rabbit trail, but I think it's something to consider.
Be interesting to watch going forward for sure. Michael?
Yeah, obviously we have the same few guys, but it just depends where we land. I landed on Judge. He's having a ridiculous year. I would love to watch the big dumper catch him for the MVP, and I'm curious what it would take for him to catch Judge if Judge continues with these numbers.
Right.
Because I think it's pretty clear Rowley's going to be the Platinum Glove winner again this year, most likely.
Ooh, platinum, huh?
Yeah, he is elite of the elite.
He's great framer, great throws. Blocks well.
Right? No, yeah, 100%.
Legitimate catcher.
And he is hitting everything.
Right.
He's hitting for average. He's hitting for power. He is everything. And it's one of those things. You looked at the Yankees. Yeah, I think we all thought they were going to be a little bit down this year, but obviously they're still playing well. But obviously Judge is what runs that team. If Judge really starts to dip, I think you're going to start seeing that team start falling. Now, that division is kind of weird this year. Baltimore is awful.
Right.
Tampa Bay, of course, is right in play as always.
Right.
Toronto, I don't know what they are. They may be good. They may not be good. Is Bo Bichette getting traded? Potentially. I don't know, obviously. So it's the Red Sox and the Yankees, to me, are kind of the two teams to watch. Red Sox have really dipped hard, but they go make a trade for a guy like Arenado, somebody like that.
We keep trying to put it out in the ether, but
I'm telling you, they're going to make a move for a third base. Either them or the Yankees are going to make a move for a third baseman.
I think it's the Yankees. You think Boston's going to get another third baseman now with a contract for 3 more years?
I'd consider it because Bregman was pretty willing to move.
I was going to say, he was willing to move to second base. You got Nato, who said for the right team he'd play first base.
Yep.
So, that's kind of
he's not going to play first
I don't know.
base
After taking the beating he's taken, running down some of those balls, first base might look really, really good right now.
You're not wrong. So, But I landed with Judge. The numbers are there for everything. He is falling a little bit, but his numbers are still better than everybody else's. So
100%.
Yeah.
Not a bad pick.
Yeah. Big dumper's mine for all the same reasons. Thing stuck out to me is a walk rate for a catcher is kind of high. He's got a 16.7 based on balls percentage. And to know what you guys were talking about, he's on pace to have more home runs than Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Yes.
If we're talking about the MVP race.
I think right now the question is, can his average come up a touch? He's still hitting at a high average. Don't get me wrong.
What's the season average at?
He's 270-ish, I think.
Okay. For an MVP type.
Right.
Type
and
campaign.
not that's so. If let's say he leads the league in home runs, RBIs, and then you also look at the defensive metrics that he's going to bring to the table.
Yeah.
I think it puts him in a close race. Mm-hmm. But I think if you have Judge who maintains this, let's say he maintains a 350 and has a couple,
which is ridiculous.
Right? Exactly, and a couple home runs
shy
of that. it's hard to not say.
To your point, that's an interesting thing to break out. So for the month, Raleigh had 26 ribbies, and Judge only had, what does it say, 18?
Yeah.
So to me, right now in the season, they're not pitching to Judge with runners on. He's hitting these solo a lot.
Judge was intentionally walked 8 times last month.
And they're going to start doing that. I mean,
especially
in
smart
games
play.
that make
in critical
situations.
Absolutely.
When it's just baseball and people are playing, they're going to pitch to him. But I wonder if that's going to hamper him. But Raleigh could also get the same treatment eventually.
Honestly, because the rest of that offense is nowhere close to
right.
where
I
it is.
mean, Polanco started off great, but haven't seen much of that as of late. I don't know where the offensive side of Julio Rodriguez went.
Yeah.
Him and Adley been hanging out on the offense.
I was going to say the Mariners might want to send out a vessel to go search for that offense because it's just not there.
No.
An interesting. I know I put him at first, and I agree with you, Brian. The position that he's playing and the defensiveness that he's bringing to the table is what put him at 1. But Raleigh's more of a swing and miss hitter, a low average, 3 true outcome guy, whereas Judge is a very contact. He has swing and miss, obviously, but he's going to strike out or hit the ball really, really hard. And Raleigh's more of a pull hitter than anything. That's where all of his power is at. The length of a season would be interesting to see
100%.
If it can last. And you have to think like he's not going to be able to play as many games. Maybe over his career that lies, but maybe for a year he can play 150, 158.
Yeah. Well, and I think, that's where Seattle's got to get a little bit more creative and use him as the DH a little bit, but they're going to need to find, somebody that they can trust behind the plate a little bit.
The only thing I gotta say, I looked this up. Only 2 of his home runs were as DH. The rest of them were in the games where he was playing catcher.
And so, you and I have talked about that a lot. That sometimes a player just has to play the field to hit better. It's not always the case, but you see it. Some players just prefer being in the whole game versus coming in sitting on the bench for half of an inning and then going out there and swinging the bat.
Yeah, like you guys talked about, I think it was 2 weeks ago with Jordan, it may have been last week. He kind of says he wants to play out there, but you look at the guys like, dude, you're kind of made of glass, but you're one of the best hitters in the world.
Right.
Figure out how to be just a DH because we need you as a DH.
Right, yeah, 100%.
Right.
So that wraps up our AL position player of the month. So Brian and I had the full sweep, identical full sweep. Michael just missed out on that one. All right, let's move on to starters. So top 3 starters. Let's do honorable mentions first. Anybody got? Brian, you got any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I do. And so I'll go through these relatively quick. I mean, I think these are kind of, maybe just par for the course, if you will. But I have Max Fried here. I have Garrett Crochet in this spot. And then I have Brian Wu for Seattle. He has been a bright spot for them all year, especially with a couple of the injuries with Gilbert and Kirby not really being available all the time. But I think he's kind of cemented himself in that rotation for them and is doing a great job. Crochet, despite not getting any support offensively, I mean, the dude has still been way better than I anticipated.
Called it.
And then Max Fried is like, again, there was I would say a slight dip in comparison to what he did last month,
right?
But not enough to like remove him from the conversation.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, I didn't realize how good some of the AL pitchers were until I went in there and looked at some of these numbers for the month. I was like, geez, there's a couple guys on here too. I was like, didn't expect to see your name up there, but all right. So my considerations, Crochet was on there. I still threw Hunter Brown in there because he is pitching lights out right now. And I went back and forth on whether I needed to have him in my top 3, and I landed on no, and that may just be Yankee bias. And I threw Rodon down here in my considerations. But looking at their numbers, you'd be happy with any of those 3 pitching for you right now. So,
dude, the AL would be. It's kind of like the pitching in the AL is amazing, but the hitting is subpar.
Yep.
And vice versa in the National League.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So honorable mentions for me would be Valdez, just kind of like that steady elite,
Framber.
not super, super elite, but elite. And then I'm really, really bummed because Crochet, I wanted him to be in my top 3, but he has to be an honorable mention because today's game doesn't count.
Right.
If today's game counted on Sunday, he would be even higher because he just had a stellar game today. He's one of my favorite pitchers to watch. Crochet's just got a really cool delivery, a really weird leg kick. His fastball is just moves in a weird way. He's fun to watch. And then I do got to give another honorable mention to Will Warren. He was going to be, was it Friday when I made the list? He was going to be in my top 3, had a bad game.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
Right.
It was the game against the Dodgers, right, where they exploded for like 12 or something.
Yeah, they had a massive game. I think it ended up being like 18 runs total. Yeah. Is what they ended up with.
Poor kid. I mean, it's going to happen. Those things got to happen to you. Prior to that game, though, he was insane. And
yeah,
I mean, it was expected that he's going to be like the number 5 and like mid, and he's got a 13.8 K per 9.
Yeah, that's what I looked at that, and again, the only hesitation to not put him was the ERA because it got inflated. There's no doubt it got inflated, but there's been a number of the Yankees pitching staff that have been lights out
last
through
week.
this.
Or no, maybe it was you, Michael. The thing I want to point out about Warren before we jump into number 3s, his ERA ballooned of 4.8 from the Dodgers game, but his FIP stayed at 2.3.
Yeah,
which is interesting. You know what happened in that game? I mean, the Yankees defense is known as not being good.
Right.
You think about the World Series last year, the Dodgers were quoted, just put the ball in play because they're not going to be able to do.
Yeah, they're not going to make the play.
But a good honorable mention. All right, let's hit number 3. What do you got?
Number 3 for me is Carlos Rodon for the Yankees. I mean, 11.1 K per 9, a 1.47 ERA. For this month, or the month of May, I should say. Now that we're in June, and so for me, he has been tremendous over the last couple starts for them, and that was the nod that I needed. Like, it was, again, between him and Wu, I was really going back and forth of which one should be in my honorable mention or him, and I think I settled on him. I love Framber. I think he is a very underrated ace, especially in the AL West.
I think that's a good call.
But again, you go back and look. I mean, 30 innings. There were 5 games in the course of the month for him, and again, to have a under 2 ERA, really under 1.5 ERA. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, solid. What you got, Michael?
Yeah, I actually landed with Framber, partly for the reason you spoke. He is an underrated ace. I even underrate the guy. He's on my fantasy baseball team, but I still look at the guy as probably a number 2 pitcher more than a 1. But they pitch him as a 1 because he goes out and in big games he shows up too.
Yeah.
So, Framber's numbers were great for the month. You can't completely go off of wins, but I think he did lead the AL in wins for the month. Obviously, some of that is sometimes your bullpen falls apart and costs you a game, or sometimes it's just a tie game or whatever. So, Framber's numbers I thought were good enough to get him thrown up in there, but it was close. The big number that did it for me was his WHIP at 0.84 or something.
Love that you like WHIP.
That's a ridiculous.
For
the month.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty ridiculous. So, again,
we're thinking too much alike.
We did not talk about this before. Rodon is my number 3. Big thing that stuck out to me, I'm a strikeout nerd, 11.1 K per 9. Another big thing that stuck out for me was his left on base percentage, and all of my guys, all my top 3 picks left on base is really high. He had a 91% left on base rate, which is the mark of you get in trouble and you can get yourself out of it.
Yep.
His ERA is at a 1.4, and his FIP is at a 2.1, which you're talking about half a run difference, which is I think a little bit, but that's why he's not higher, is because it's it's a little bit further away. 1.1 WAR for the month. Honestly, he's having that season that they signed him for, and I feel like he's probably one of those guys that's going to do this every few years. not every year, not consistently. So they got to take advantage of, hey, Rodon's having an insane year. We need to make sure we do something with it, kind of thing. But he's pitching like they paid him too, so it's fun to see. It's a bummer that Fried fell off because I feel like he probably should have taken the spot. But again, the Dodgers happened.
Right. No, I'm with you.
Cap, you got number 2.
Yeah, so this one was an interesting one for me because it kind of goes against some of the things that I like. I mean, K-9's still good. I went with the Kansas City Royal, and I hope I don't butcher his name, and that's Chris Bubik.
Yeah, that's right.
And, I mean, I started looking at his numbers, and I actually went back and watched highlights of some of his recent games because I was like...
We faced him.
Yeah, and I was like, it just doesn't feel right.
Yep.
And the more I watched, I was like, this dude is having a year. Yep. And not even that, a month of May was tremendous. I mean, the selling point for me was obviously the .56 ERA. I mean, for someone that doesn't have jump off the page like strikeout K per 9, I mean, 1 per every 9 innings is great. Like I'll take that. But you're talking about a guy who's more of a pitch to contact type of guy. You would expect more runs to come across the plate in that. And so I just was like, I've been very, very impressed with him, especially from this month. And he was a guy that, like, initially, if I would have looked at that, I'd have been like, oh, I don't even know why that guy's in your roster, like on your starting pitching spot.
Yep.
Trade him, get something for him, and now they'd be laughing at me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, they would.
I'm glad you're the one that pronounced his name. But yeah, he landed in my 2 spot as well. And it's one of those things. The rest of these guys, I feel like, are household names. You know, the guys that you expect to be on this list, or at least somewhere in that top 10 kind of spot. But you know, I feel like Kansas City, even though they're very good, has not been on a lot of people's radar this year. They're not playing, all the national games, so you don't see them every day. But you look at his numbers for this month, I mean, just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if it wasn't for that one pitcher that I know we're all going to mention, this guy definitely would have been number 1 because he had a phenomenal month. So shout out Mr. Chris. He had a great month.
Yeah, that's mine too. Thing stuck out to me is the left on base percentage, 98% left on base.
Yes.
We experienced that in the game. We faced them, and I think we're going to face them again in this series. Yeah. We play the Royals Monday, Tuesday. No, Tuesday was a
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yep.
And he's slated. And one other thing I think is interesting in this whole tale is they've moved him up and down. Mm-hmm. And I remember on the broadcast that I think it was Chip Carey who broadcast for the Cardinals, like, I don't know why this kid is moving up and down. He's really good, and they keep moving him. They were only spot starting him for when what's the kid that came from Texas that plays for the Royals? He just went on the injured list. Blanking on his name.
Once again, the Royals have not been on everybody's radar this year. So,
I wish I knew his name. But there would be a start that he had to miss, but they didn't want to put him on the IL, so they'd bring Bubik up and then send him right back down.
Yep.
And this kid, like you said, a .5 ERA. Like, why is he going down right now?
Right.
It's kind of like what the Cardinals are doing with old McGreevy. The only thing that stuck out to me, honestly, he probably would be number 1 if it weren't for this, even though the next guy that we're all going to mention. The FIP is at a 2.1, so his defense is bailing him out, which obviously they're supposed to do. But when you take into consideration, for me, we're just talking about a pitcher and a skill set.
Yeah,
there's balls that are happening that his defense is covering for him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and again, to me, I think it's impressive. And I say this, when you talk about a lot of these guys, you're 95 to 100. And this is a guy that's 92 to 93 on a fastball, and he's doing this.
Yeah, I think it's the angle and the way he hides it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you got to give credit to him, and obviously now, but now, end of the year, it'll be a different story.
Right.
People have seen him more. I think about your guy, Imanaga.
Yeah.
Last year, nobody could touch him because just nobody has seen him before. But this year, people are hitting him better. I mean, obviously he's hurt now, but so it'll be interesting, the adjustment,
Yeah, and I think that'll be fun, even in the next series with St. Louis. That'll be fun to see how the adjustments are already taking place because it'll be the second time that you've seen him to this point, and so you can see that. So,
but celebrate him in the month of May.
Absolutely, 100%, because it is now June, so the Cardinals can hit him all they want.
That's right.
No, it's good. I think we're all gonna walk the table with this one, and it's Skubal from Detroit. I mean, almost 13K per 9. His ERA 2.2. I mean, which is still like, I know we talk about, a 0.56. I think that's what makes that even more spectacular. Is here you have a guy like Skubal who's at a 2.2, 1.9 WAR, and you go back to the complete game that he just had.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I'm just sitting there going, like, that game alone probably gets him pitcher of the month.
Yep.
Like, by itself. He doesn't you don't have to look at any of the other ones, but then when you go back and look at the other, there's not much different.
Yep. Yeah, that's, they call that a Maddox for, anything under 100 per pitches for a complete game. And it was beauty. And 13 Ks on top of that.
Right.
And the icing on the cake, finishing at 103 to finish a guy off. Like, Stop.
Yeah.
This guy, he's been great the last few years. We all kind of pegged him as the Cy Young again this year. Started a little slow, but he has ramped up hard. I would put him up against the best hitters. Like, throw Aaron Judge, throw Cal Raleigh in there, and I still will take Skubal over them.
Yeah. That'd be a fun thing in the All-Star game right there. Give me the best pitcher in the league and line up like 4 or 5 great hitters and just say, hey, let me see if you can hit this.
When's the last time, I don't know if you guys know this or not, when's the last time a guy has won a Cy Young back-to-back?
I do not know that, but I would venture to say it has not been recent.
I was trying to remember. Did Scherzer potentially do it?
Maybe.
He went on a great run there for a few years.
Yeah. Oh, and he's in Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah. Couple things that stuck out for me. He's got the most innings of all of them, minus Valdez. Valdez has got 42. He's got 41, so 1 inning less. So a dude that's throwing what he's throwing, got that many innings under his belt. And the other thing is his FIP. His ERA, like you said, is 2.2, but his FIP is 1.4. So his defense is letting him down a little bit. But that tells me that what he's doing is he's getting a little unlucky. It's a beautiful pitcher to watch. I mean, it kind of makes me wonder. Obviously, hitting 103 in inning 9 at the end of a game after he's through 90-plus pitches, plus warm-up pitches after all the innings. With his leg kick, though, it kind of gives me vibes of Nolan Ryan in the sense of, like, the high leg going up, keeping more emphasis off of his elbow and his shoulder. Kind of makes me wonder he might be a sustainable pitcher.
Yeah.
Because someone with that stuff, you always wonder, okay,
when's it going to go? Right.
When's old Tommy coming around? But just with his leg kick and his body type, kind of want I see the sustainability at least a little bit.
And it's one of those things. I think the problem that a lot of those guys that end up with Tommy John have that throw hard is they like to show it off. He brings it out when he needs it. It's not that he has to use it every pitch. You're not seeing him hit 100 miles an hour. He's going to obviously sit in the high 90s, but that's not where he has to be because everything else works great too. But that was the other thing I forgot to mention. Obviously, whip was ridiculous, but the other teams batted like 150 off to the guy for the month. Like, that's just insane.
Right.
And honestly, his pitch mix isn't like crazy. I mean, he's got the standard fastballs and sliders. The knuckle curve percentage is only at 2.2, so he barely throws it.
Right.
So if you think about health, like the guys that are throwing really hard but then are also spinning like crazy, the two things added together, he's thrown 136 sliders, 24 knuckle curves, and 307 four-seamers and 336 changeups. So when you're not spinning as much, maybe that helps. Plus the leg kick. I don't know. I'm not a what do they call that? Body scientist. Whatever. It's not called that, by the way. But yeah, man, he's been a stud. What we got? Relief pitcher of the month. Honorable mentions. Brian?
Yeah, I just have 2 of the honorable mentions. I mean, this is probably, I think, the hardest one really, because you have to look at the body of work. It's not just about numbers all the time. I mean, obviously numbers represent something, but so for me, the two that kind of didn't quite get there, because I only have one reliever. I didn't go for three here because it's just what it is. But this would be the top three if you would. Here's the two honorable mentions are Griffin Jacks from Minnesota. Dude's been really, really good. He's kind of in that setup role for them. And I mean, he's been lights out. I mean, you just you look at some of that and what he's been able to do is kind of cool. And then the other one for me is Carlos Estevez for Kansas City. Those are the two guys that just kind of didn't quite get there, but I mean, could very well have been there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually just went with one, and that was Duran. Landed as my odd man out, and it was super close. Actually, ironically, his month was kind of weird because he had 4 wins and 1 loss for the month, which
reliever.
is weird as a closer. But he had a great month, just was slightly not as good as the other guy. But great month, and he's kind of returning back to that form. He struggled a little early, but when Duran's on, you don't want to be out there in the 9th inning down.
Right.
Absolutely. So I just have 2. Carlos Estevez was an honorable mention for me. Honestly, you could probably argue my pick and Estevez is like either or.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. I think we're going to land.
Pitched is what made the final decision for me. Second honorable mention, I'm going to throw a random out there. It's not random, but Aroldis Chapman is honestly it's not like Johan Duran elite like ERA or Carlos Estevez ERA. His ERA is 2.3, but he's 52 years old and throwing 103 still.
Right.
And still
can probably
doing
bench
it.
press about 400 pounds.
Yeah, still doing it and throwing, how many innings does he have? 11.2 innings. Honestly, pretty solid for a really old guy.
Yep.
What is his nickname? They have a nickname for him. Gosh, I should have wrote that down.
You should have.
Brian, save me.
Good.
What's your pick?
So my pick is actually going to be Johan Duran from Minnesota. And kind of what it was the K/9. And again, that can be inflated as a reliever. I understand that. But it's still something significant to look at. The fact that it was just the edge of the ERA for me, that 0.6 for him. 7 saves. You mentioned it. Wins aren't, really a stat I look at for the pitching side of things, because again, you look at even going back to Scuba a little bit, he had 6 starts. I think he only came away with 2 wins in the process and still had a tremendous month. And relievers sometimes can just be on the benefiting side where he comes in and he does his job of locking down a player at home or on the road. And then, the team comes back and wins or has a walk-off when they're at home, those type of things.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, I got to win. Awesome. And so that, but it's still fascinating. Again, you talk about the 15 innings pitched. This was really close, and I left Rodriguez off from Toronto. But I think that was more because I didn't really get to see a lot of him. But that's impressive too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's impressive what both of them are doing. But I settled with Duran just because he's in that closer role. And like you said, Michael, he's kind of seemed to return to form. I was really worried about him at the beginning of the year. And now I'm like, okay, he's back. This is going to be trouble for a lot of people.
Well, and you look at that too. Minnesota makes this huge surge in May. That guy is a big reason why.
Absolutely.
Because when that guy's on and you're running out there down a run, it doesn't matter. He's going to close you down.
Yep. 100%.
So my numbers may be off slightly because I'm running off of a 30-day spin rather than last month. So I actually landed on Class A from
he's been
Cleveland.
great too, yeah.
His ERA is slightly higher than Duran's, but I've got from the last 30 days, he's got 8 saves with 8 opportunities. His whip was 0.6.
Yeah.
And guys are batting 125 off of the guy. That's insane. But that just is Cleveland. They always have phenomenal starting pitchers that come out of nowhere. It's like just some random guy becomes a Cy Young type guy, and then they have elite setup and closers. And Class A's been kind of the guy, I think, in the AL for the last 3 years. Once again, started off a little slow, really ramping up, and you see it. Cleveland started to really start playing well late April into May, and Class A is getting it done. So
100%.
Great pick. So my pick is actually Yariel Rodriguez.
Okay.
Couple things that sold it for me.
Glad somebody recognized that young man.
17 innings pitched, so he's got the most innings out of anybody that we chose.
Yeah.
He's not a closer, so he's not getting the saves.
Sure.
You know, and you could argue if it matters or matters. But two things that stood out to me: his ERA is super solid, a .53, but his BABIP is a .176, which tells me no matter what, they're not getting lucky, or nobody would be hitting him anyway.
Right.
Johan Duran's BABIP is 3.33. Estevez's BABIP is 3.10. So his hitters are getting somewhat lucky, or would be getting lucky, I guess would be the way to say that. So Rodriguez, it wouldn't matter if they're putting in contact or not. He's not a super crazy strikeout guy in comparison. 9.5 K per 9, still a strikeout every inning, and his FIP is 0.5. That's nice.
Yes,
that's nice. And you mentioned, is he really young?
I don't know that he's really young, but he's younger than me.
Well,
he's 28, so he's still a young dude.
Fair, yeah. I was originally going to pick Duran, but at the last minute I went Yariel Rodriguez because I just thought those numbers are
that's the first category that we've all landed on someone different. So
right, and I'm glad. I actually love that is how it works. But that's relievers in a nutshell too.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot to go in. If you're a setup guy, like I understand closers get the limelight, if you will, and the show to come in. But some of these guys are coming into some pretty tough situations. Like these aren't all clean innings that he's coming into. He's got traffic on the bases that he's got to work around and all of that. And so it's it's pretty interesting.
One of the things you could argue too is Duran's only throwing an inning per game.
Right.
15 games, 15 innings. Rodriguez has gotten 13 games and 17 innings. So he's throwing two innings in many games.
Inning and a half,
And like you said, the closers, they get everything. I mean, they get the music. They get, probably the girls too.
Yeah, the hype.
But the elite teams always have one or two elite setup guys.
Yep.
You think about, I'll take it back to the 2016 World Series. Andrew Miller was unreal. He was not the closer in that series.
Right.
It was Cody Allen.
Mm-hmm.
But when Andrew Miller came out there, it was like, good luck.
Well, and a multiple inning guy.
Yes, he could eat 2-3 innings.
I was going to say that was the year they were running out like maybe 5 innings as a starter, and then it was a 3 relievers just to get to those guys. And it was like once it got to the 5th, if you didn't have the lead, it was over.
Shut down.
Yeah. Well, it was funny that you mentioned him too. Is there's so much talk about the Cardinals season this year? Matt's becoming the Andrew Miller type.
Could be
because his ERA is like 1.2 right now, which for a guy that's spent most of his contract on the IL, then all of a sudden, whoa, this guy's got a 1 ERA and lots of innings under him. That's interesting. So anyway, we got Rookie of the Year to finish off the AL. And you have any?
Well, he's been Rookie of the Year too.
Yeah,
he's gonna be.
Rookie of the month.
He's gonna be
Rookie of the month. My bad. Any honorable mentions, or just got the normal?
No, I do. I have some honorable mentions because again, this one was much closer than I initially thought it was going to be. I mean, I think all of us are going to have the same player that's going to end up being the edge, and rightfully so. But my honorable mentions, I threw in Logan Evans. He's a starting pitcher for Seattle. And so obviously with the injuries they have there, he's been pretty solid for them.
A pitcher being good in Seattle.
Right. Who would have guessed, huh? But, again, it's limited opportunities right now. So we'll see what and that's the reason why he stayed in the honorable mention side. For me, it was Cam Smith in Houston. He kind of had a surge there in May, and it's starting to look like why he was the centerpiece in the deal for Tucker. And then Carlos Narvaez from Boston, their catcher that has come in, and I mean, he had a great May.
Really?
And almost edged out. In my
Why did I
opinion.
not see that?
He had a
That's
great May. And shout out to him. He also took a pitch at like 102 to the throat, also in the middle of the month.
Yeah.
Still got back up. Catchers are tough, man.
They're like hockey players, man. You can't keep them down.
100%. Yeah, I landed with Narvaez. He was my guy. If it wasn't for this other guy.
Right,
Yeah, no.
right.
But he had a great May. So, shout out to Mr. Narvaez.
So I feel like I'm going to get some hate here. But
I'm going to give it to you if it's
Jacob
not right.
Wilson was my honorable mention.
Wow.
You're foolish.
And well, it's because the pick
You
that
just
I have
don't
is
like
just,
that he's in Sacramento.
No, dude.
You hate Sacramento, don't you?
No. I love Sacramento, actually. I've been there. It's a great city. He is, if it really wasn't for my pick, this guy is hands down, obviously on the list. But I couldn't do it. Position players always get rookie of the month picks. So.
Okay. All right. I think I know where you're going.
He's
but
having, I mean, dude,
I'll
he's
let you
having
have
a
it.
great campaign.
I did check
So
out pictures, but
I did too, but none of them
one's
really
played.
just kind of is doing what this is doing. And so I know now it's me.
Yeah.
And it is going to be Jacob Wilson of the Athletics. I mean, and it's simply because, I mean, you put his batting average up against Aaron Judge. He's right there. He is a 368. He's only got 4 home runs, but 16 RBIs, a 538 slug, a 180 WRC plus, a 1.7 WAR, and a 1.1 defensive WAR. And that's a rookie.
Yep.
Okay? Like these are numbers that, like I said, earned him the conversation of being in the just the player of the month
yep.
Yeah.
conversation. And I was like, as much as I wanted to go somewhere else, because this guy was not on my radar at all when we did our predictions.
No.
Like I wasn't even really thinking about him that much. I was like, yeah, I'd heard some rumblings like, hey, good spring, cool thing, you know. And then for him to come out, and this is a guy, again, doesn't take a lot of walks, very much a free swinger. And so when you're hitting 360 in a month and you're a free swinger like that,
Yeah.
I mean, you got some good bat. And maybe there's some luck that plays into that. But you know what? You stood head and shoulders above all the other rookies, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, I'm like you. I don't actually think this was close at all. I think Wilson was heads above everybody. Argument probably could be made that he was a top 3 player in the AL for the month of May and overall right now. Interesting topic I saw. They were talking about all-star starters. It's not going to happen for this kid because it is a popularity thing when voting.
Yes.
And so Bobby Witt will be the starter for the AL.
Yeah,
but
probably.
Wilson's numbers, they're not even comparable to Bobby Witt right now. They are ridiculous. And I would argue it's probably tougher on him right now because the A's have been so bad in the month of May that these other teams could pitch around him because he has been the one guy that really has continued to just hit out there in Sacramento, as weird as that is to say.
Right.
So, yeah, it's Jacob Wilson all day for me.
All right, let's hear it. Come on. Who can we get mad at you about?
So I want to say the reason my pick for him wasn't is a couple things stuck out to me. His average exit velo is in the, what does it say, bottom 9% of MLB, and his hard hit percentage, his hard hit rate is in the bottom 4%.
That's a
4%
Luis
of MLB.
Arise kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's just going to get on base, baby.
Yeah.
Just giving you trouble.
And when Lawrence Butler starts hitting again and
Right.
Brent Rooker starts going off,
Absolutely.
that team starts clicking.
They somehow win the AL
watch
West.
athletic games because of Jacob Wilson.
I understand.
By the way, and Lawrence Butler.
Lawrence Butler's
I'm a
so
big
fun, man.
Lawrence
Yeah.
Butler fan. I love that home run last year when he hit it. He was like,
What are you going to do when we have a playoff game in Sacramento in a minor league baseball park?
versus Tampa Bay.
oh my
be
You're
god,
just bouncing between minor league park to minor league park.
worst nightmare. Worst nightmare. My rookie pick is Chris Bubik. I just think for value of what a player
Okay.
brings to a team,
I'm not going to argue it.
you could argue a position player brings more to a team because of every day.
Yeah.
Starting pitcher pitches once every 5 days or 6 days, whatever. But man, what he's been to the team for the month, it was tough, man. But I would say the main reason I picked it is because everybody always picks position players for rookie of the month. Mine, unless you are Paul Skeens, position players always pick. So I gotta give pitchers love, and that's coming from a guy that doesn't pay attention to pitching a ton. I just think he's been lights out. I wanted to be the odd man out, though, if I'm being honest, because I was originally picking Jacob Wilson,
I figured,
but I knew you were.
I thought this was going to be a sweep.
Yeah,
I really did.
I did too.
So I mean, I'll give you that one as much as I want to kind of yell at you a little bit.
Bubik's been great though.
100%. And I think if I didn't have him in the tops for the pitching,
Yeah.
I think it would have been an easier sell to put him as rookie of the month.
Well, to be honest, Wilson was my third AL player of the month until Ramirez had the week that he had.
Yeah. So again, I'm not going to yell at you too bad, but like, man, you can't devalue getting on base.
Yep.
I don't care how you do it. I don't care if your exit velo is 20. If you're finding the holes consistently to bat 368, I'll find a spot to play you.
I mean, and he's a good defender. Like the Luis Arraez conversation, all he can do is singles.
Right.
Yep.
He can't play in the field to save his life.
Yeah, he's the utility player from the aspect of he can play a whole lot of positions, very average.
Right.
Very poor. Honestly, probably poorly.
Honestly, you're not wrong.
Like below average. But Wilson's expected batting average is 303. His WOBA is 386. So he's killing it.
Yeah.
And he just came up like 2 weeks into the season and he didn't start.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to see what his RBI totals and stuff would look like if the rest of the team was actually playing well right now, because like they are very bad, which we all anticipated.
Right.
They were going to have a fast run out. And then they were going to hit a really hard stretch. Apparently, May was that stretch.
Right. So his K percent is he's elite at not striking out.
He does,
but he's also
swings.
terrible at walking.
Right.
Yeah.
So
He's going up there to hit.
I wonder what his season's going to look like when the first adjustment happens.
Yeah.
Because if he's not walking, and then obviously they're shifting him a little bit differently because they figured him out, and pitchers are getting the right spot for him to ground out. If him not walking a lot means his on base is just going to
nosedive. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not wishing that on him any means.
I think you are.
Questions I'm asking, just curious.
You're all against all position
I watch
players
athletic
now.
games because of this player and Lawrence Butler.
I'll play it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if I may be wrong, but I think he just does not see pitches. He goes up there ready to hit, and within 2 or 3 pitches, he has put the ball in
play. It's the Corey Seager effect.
Yep.
Like he is.
Yeah.
If the pitch is
That's
where if it's where he thinks he can do something with it, it doesn't matter what pitch it is. Like
his
what number it
mechanics
is.
are perfect to the T because that means he can time himself correctly without seeing a pitch.
Right.
Which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
With different pitchers at different velo points.
Yep.
If you think about it. No sweeps. Well, no. We had an Aaron Judge sweep. No.
No.
We didn't.
There were
We
no
had
sweeps.
No,
sweeps.
Tarek Skubal was a sweep.
Okay.
Sorry.
We got to
Which-
sweep it at number 1 starter.
That's to be expected.
To be expected.